The camera is placed far out. This is what the camera is supposed to feel. I guess I've gotten too used to medium camera. They call it medium, but it's technically far because the default camera is not near. It's typical thing for it's typical amount of distance for a game like this. Dude, is the poppin' really this bad, or is it just because of my mods and emulator? Why are there so many speed bumps? Seems to be working fine now. Auto placement seems to have turned off when I got to a critical zone. Although it honestly feels more like auto placement is just turned off, period.
Yeah. Oh. 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 Hey.
Want to try.
Hmm.
Almost checks out. I was right here when the game crashed. And most of my crashes were when I was in this area. So they were close enough. Hey, that's a thing you can do in Tears of the Kingdom. '69. I probably should have made a backup. I was close enough to the loading zones that potentially things loaded there, I suppose.
Hmm.
And I was able to get 2 extra red souls in that crash save file. Again, the game refuses to give me nice things. Okay, that's awesome. Except that's my second one. Should get rid of these lower impact clubs I have. Oh, I didn't mean to you do that. Fuck me. That key was meant for. Oh my god, and it's a useless spear. We'll get more keys.
But I decided to take this deck to ruin this event, and I think that's why it made people very upset. How did one-man strategy nearly sabotage an entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament for over 1,000 players? This is the story of a man who surprised the world with a toxic strategy that no one wanted to play against. It was a stall deck that had the potential to hold up a tournament for hours longer than it was supposed to be. And it got to the point where even if the judges wanted to disqualify him, they couldn't because he was still technically playing within the rules. A fact that would be rather ironic, for 22-year-old Alan Pennington himself was previously the most well-known head judge in Florida. But after openly criticizing Konami policies online, he would be barred from enlisting as a head judge for future tournaments, a canon event that would unleash the start of his villain saga. 2 weeks before the regional, RTO gets an email basically explicitly saying that they were not allowed to have me as a head judge. It was because of the fact that I had been criticizing Konami's policies online. So these were things like, I didn't like all the power creep, I thought the prize support could be a lot better, so on, So yeah, online I was posting some things about Konami, and let And unable to oversee the tournament as a head judge, he instead turned his focus to joining them as a player, with his eyes set on an upcoming major event, YCS San Diego, a championship-level tournament that would draw the strongest players from the continent. But he would have some time to prepare, with several local tournaments and smaller regional qualifiers to first test his theories. And through his research, one particular strategy would catch his attention. Originally surfacing in Louisville by a fellow duelist with the name of Tyler Nolan, it was the first iteration of what was called yyyy FTK. The concept was pretty simple. Use draw spells to draw as much of his own deck as possible, and then use cards like hand destruction and card destruction to force the opponent to draw multiple cards until they eventually deck out. Tyler Nolan, very, very good player. He posts a tournament report going 6-3 at a regional with Gishki FTK. And this kind of mostly flew under the radar because, like, hey, it's a regional, he went 6-3. Tyler was kind of on the same wavelength as me in that we were not really what we would call meta players. And I was like, this is pretty much like the pinnacle of a weird combo deck. Now, to achieve this, over half of the deck would be composed of draw cards, ranging from Upstart Goblin to Into the Void, Trade-In, Moray of Greed, Darkworld Dealings, and of course the newly released One Day of Peace, a card that would force both players to draw a card, but also prevent any damage being dealt for the next 2 turns. I always like to, push games to their limits. Show me something broken, and then let me come up with something even more broken. But you might be wondering how a deck-out situation would be possible, because the opponent would technically have to draw almost 40 cards to deck out. And with card destruction being limited to 1 copy per deck due to rampant abuse in the past, this might prove to be a challenge. But they quickly discovered it was possible to easily recycle card destruction and hand destruction with an engine that everyone had previously disregarded, the Gishki engine. Gishki FTK is a combo deck. Play a bunch of draw spells, draw your entire deck, then you put your graveyard back into your deck, draw your entire deck again, your graveyard back into your deck, draw your entire deck again, and you can keep doing this as long as you want. It is an infinite, non-deterministic combo. Mainly in part due to its titular card, the Ebikishki Mind Octus. This card would allow the user to recycle back 5 cards from either graveyard back to the owner's deck, meaning they could recycle card destruction quite easily. The Gishki ritual spell, Gishki Aquamir, had a built-in graveyard effect that could shuffle itself back to the deck, and then return a Gishki ritual monster in your graveyard back to your hand, creating a failsafe that prevents the user from decking out, but also allowing them to recycle the resources so they can loop Ebikishki Mind Octus over and over again. And of course, being older cards released before the designers imposed a hard once per turn restriction, both of these cards could be activated as many times as you want to. And with 3 copies of Aquamir and 2 copies of Mind Octus, you could essentially create a pseudo-infinite loop. You want to design a game? Okay, you earned your paycheck. I'm going to show you the worst possible consequences of your game design. They would try and draw their entire deck, a feat that was attained pretty easily with the amount of draw spells that the deck played. And of course, this was over a decade ago where hand traps were not very prevalent. Ash Blossom Joy Spring was not a thing, so you could not stop the effect of draw spells. And even though Drone Lockbird was released, no one was really playing it because back then the decks didn't do any searching, so there was nothing you could really side it against besides this deck, which no one really knew about. Effect Veiler was around, but it was pretty useless against the best decks, so it didn't see a lot of play. And against Gishki, it was somewhat effective against Royal Magical Library, but that was really about it. The only relevant hand traps against Gishki FTK were Nico Money King and Droll Lockbird. And people did not side those cards because they were literally unplayable against every other deck in the format. Once the deck was empty, Mind August could then recycle a copy of Hand Destruction and Salvage. A second copy of Hand Destruction would then be activated from the hand to draw the Salvage and the Hand Destruction that was returned to the deck, while burning 2 cards from the opponent's deck at the same time. 2 copies of Gishki Aquamir then return themselves to the deck to add back the Mind August and Water to hand, followed by Salvage adding back 2 copies of Gishki Shadow, then searching those same Aquamirs. This would allow another copy of August to be summoned, shuffling back Salvage and Hand Destruction to the deck once more, allowing the freshly drawn Hand Destruction to then repeat the process, discarding Aquamir for free each time thanks to Salvage's resource management. The Aquamirs spin themselves back to the deck for Shadow to research to hand, providing infinite Mind Augusts who then recycle them, Hand Destructions and Salvages, creating a bizarre but infinite loop, all while slowly decking out the opponent every time Hand Destruction resolves. Interestingly enough, the rest of the Gishki engine also supported the consistency of this combo. Gishki Shadow could be discarded to search for Gishki Aquamir, while Gishki Vision could be discarded to search for either Mind August or Soul Ogre, another Gishki ritual monster used solely as a level 8 body to discard with trade-in. And here is why the strategy was extremely toxic because the combo took extremely long to execute. It wasn't an infinite combo, so to speak, because the combo lines would be different, so you couldn't just declare an infinite loop and say that you were conducting it over and over again. You had to physically play the cards each time, and despite a match of Yu-Gi-Oh! Being the best out of 3, oftentimes the first game would take well over 40 minutes, leading to a timeout situation where they would win inevitably after conducting the loop, and because there's only enough time for one game, there would not be a game 2 or a game 3, meaning that the Gishki player inevitably wins on the spot.
What you can do, and what I did, I believe, 4 times during this 9-round regional, was decking out my opponent on game 1, turn 1.
Do they want a
time has been
picture, maybe?
called, and therefore win the entire match.
This of course meant that if you were sitting across the table from a deck like this, the counter strategy was to concede once you saw that they had the infinite loop going, so you had enough time to play a game 2 and a 3, where you could also take advantage of your side deck.
You have to scoop, or I'm gonna time you out on game 1. I mean, you know, you're comboing me, I know I'm not gonna win, I'm just gonna scoop to save time, but the idea of scooping to save time was a foreign concept to people back then. The only people that were scooping were people that were told about my deck by their friends and were like, hey, if you play this guy, make sure you scoop.
But of course, with the strategy being rather new, no one really understood this, so they would just sit there and watch the player combo. But at the same time, there was a conundrum for the opponent, because there was always a chance of the Gishki deck fizzling. Even after drawing the majority of the deck, surprisingly, there's a mathematical chance that the user does not assemble the infinite combo, or if they actually mess up one of their sequences, there's a chance that they have to pass turn without executing the full loop. So conceding early would actually be a mistake for the player. And surprisingly, this would happen during testing for Alan, when he was close to fizzling and his opponent conceded. But the deck also had a glaring weakness. It wasn't very good going second. If the opponent could set up a monster negate to stop the Royal Magical Library from accumulating counters for a free draw, or utilize preemptive hand destruction like Mooling Glacia the Elemental Lord, then the game would pretty much be over immediately for the Gishki player. Yet in spite of these flaws, Tyler Nolan would still finish his regional with a 6-3 record. But the deck would be brushed off by the masses as a meme-worthy deck because it didn't reach the top 16 of that regional. Alan, on the other hand, had an affinity for playing straight combo decks, and the Gishki FTK would certainly pique his interest. He would then take the same strategy himself to another regional tournament with 400 players, even bringing a big old checklist form just to see how much damage it could actually cause. With some notable achievements, including winning a duel with at least 30 cards in his hand, get a judge called on him at least 5 times in a single match, and get verbally or physically assaulted by an angry mob of duelists, which luckily was not checked off.
So I decided to show up to this regional, and I was, you know, kind of in a vengeful mood, and I decided to take this Gishki FTK deck, but I decided to take this deck to ruin this event.
And notably, in this tournament, he would time out at least 5 of his opponents, some of which got extremely salty and even called the judge. In fact, one player would return the favor of sabotage by deliberately cutting his deck, even if there were only 2 or 3 cards left, and asking him about every single card of that. A strategy that would prove to be rather ineffective, for he would eventually time out and lose because of it, adding more fuel to the butter.
Getting mad at me for playing Gishki FTK, and I'm like, no, this isn't my problem. This is Konami's problem. They're the one trying to promote this gameplay. I'm just taking it to its logical extreme.
But through his testing, he would also realize that the deck had a slight counter within the format in the form of Thunder King Ryo. This was a card that would prevent him from utilizing his Gishki cards to search his deck, effectively shutting off the 6 Gishki effect monsters that would search for Aqua Mirror or Mind August. But as long as he had draw power, he could consistently summon out a large Gishki ritual monster and then proceed to swing over Ryo by battle, continuing to combo in minions too. And everything went relatively as planned, for he would finish with a 7-2 record overall, barely losing in the last round and missing out on the top 8 cut. The players in the hall were so disgusted, many of which complained to the judges and the tournament organizers, and an active Konami representative who was present on the scene would even ask Alan how to best hit the deck on the next ban list.
At that regional, there was a Konami employee there, and he actually, like, explicitly asked me, he's like, hey, I know that you haven't broken any rules, so to speak, but, like, what can we do to hit this deck? Well, the obvious thing would just be a limit 1 day apiece. In the games where you don't FTK with the deck, go, well, I'm gonna 1 day apiece you can't deal any damage to me. Oh, it's back to me again. Okay, and now what?
Now, 7-2 with such a deck at a 400-man regional was actually something respectable, and word of his performance would begin to spread online, with many more complaining on the forums, some of who would even email Konami.
Why do you think people hate you?
I don't mind calling people bad if they are bad.
But luckily for the community, the R&D team would hear their cries, and on the next ban list, 1 day of peace would be
restricted to 1 copy per deck, severely hampering its consistency and turtle up strategy. And the community would be satisfied for what they thought was an adequate hit to make the deck disappear completely. But they were wrong. With YCS San Diego just a few weeks away, Alan didn't give up. He continued testing the deck, replacing One Day of Peace with Cup of Ace as an additional draw engine, though at a slightly higher gamble. Now, Cup of Ace was a really interesting card. It's basically a pot of greed that nets the user 2 additional cards, but only if you win the 50-50 coin toss. On the flip side, if the user loses a coin toss, not only does the opponent draw 2 cards, but the user also loses a card from the hand in the form of a Cup of Ace that netted 0 advantage. But together with Tyler Nolan, they determined that Cup of Ace was the card with the highest mathematical chance of still winning the duel, and therefore the most adequate replacement for One Day of Peace. What I came up with is Cup of Ace. Say if you have like 2 Cup of Aces, and one of them draws you 2, the other one draws your opponent 2. That's actually fine, and sometimes can even be helpful, because one strategy that people can use against Gishki is to just set like a bunch of back rows, because then you can't legally activate hand destruction, right? Because you need 2 cards in your hand to legally activate hand destruction. Like, you take advantage of the ones that draw me cards, and the ones that draw you my hand destructions legally able to be activated. Despite hurting the deck, the ban list would also help it indirectly by hurting its bad matchups. For starters, number 16 Shockmaster was finally banned, a card that previously meant immediate loss for the deck should they win the Dyro and call spells. Now, YCS San Diego was particularly unique, and it was different from the standard Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship series. Instead of using a constructed deck, for the first 9 rounds of day 1, they would be forced to build a sealed deck from 6 packs of Battle Pack, with a 7-2 or better record required to make day 2, where Alan would then play 5 more rounds using his Gishki deck. Surprisingly, this actually made the deck a lot more viable, given that there were less rounds with it, which meant less die rolls, less variants, and ultimately a lower chance to fizzle out, providing the deck a solid chance to top if he could muster at least a 3-2 record with solid tiebreakers. The YCS tournament would begin with the judge handing Alan a deck box containing one of the worst sealed pools he had ever seen. Gore's the Emissary of Darkness, Solid or damage step battle modifiers like Forbidden Lands were key cards in the sealed pool,
I mean,
but his deck
worth it,
contained
I'd
none
say.
of these, beyond one lone copy of Heavy Storm as his sole power card. I actually opened
We'll
like
take a detour to
horrible
Farosh,
sealed
I
pool. I
guess.
did not open a lot of power cards, but I still went 7-2. I credit that to a lot of playtesting with my pull-ups. But unlike the majority of other players in the room, what he did have was practice. The man had taken ample time before the event to carefully research all of the niche interactions and the cards in the set, having purchased multiple cases just to practice with his friends in the weeks leading up to the tournament. Though he would be forced to endure a battle of attrition as the decks got better and better with every consecutive match that he won, he miraculously finished with a 7-2 record, defeating national champion Patrick Hoban on the last round of day 1, granting him access to day 2 where the real tournament would begin. And on the next day, Alan woke up knowing that he was about to send a wake-up call to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community, the likes of which they have never seen before. But unlike at the regional, where the deck was a completely new concept, by now a lot of the players had caught on to the fundamentals and the basics of how the deck worked, having spread word online of his performance at that regional. At the regional, there's much more of a reaction. Again, they were just flabbergasted. Like, what is this deck? What is this guy doing? Why is he taking so much time? Oh my god, what the hell is happening? But again, by the time the YCS rolled around, most people were kind of vaguely aware of the deck at least. But at times, players would still try to play out game 1, with the match ending in a 1-0 victory for Alan as the timer hit 0. And as he reached the top tables, crowds would start roaming around him to witness the toxicity happen in real time. But the man was pretty tuned to the deck, so he would play at a reasonable pace, therefore the judges could not give him any slow play warnings. Nevertheless, he would feel the gaze of the judges upon his shoulder, but he would frequently remind his opponents that they could concede at any point in time, so the judges wouldn't think he was stalling or using the time maliciously in his favor. With 5 rounds in day 2, he would start with a 3-1 finish, requiring only one more win to make it into the top 32 cut, where the playoff would begin. And at this point, his utmost skill with the deck would be challenged, for his opponent was none other than Robbie Boyajian, a previous YCS champion. Not only was he a phenomenal player, but he also knew how the deck worked fundamentally because he had friends who had texted him previously before the match about conceding early. But for some reason, he wouldn't concede early enough, leading to time being called during siding after game 1, which meant that Alan would be declared a 1-0 victory, propelling him into the top 32. What I believe happened is that he was trying to set up a situation where we would draw the match, because if we drew, we would both make top 32. And it's a horrible matchup for him. So he pretty much knows that unless I get very unlucky, he's not going to win. So we're going into game 2. 1 minute left on the clock. Time was called while I was still figuring out which 10 cards to take out for my 10 burn cards. They were like, nope, you don't play game 2. What's the score? And the answer was 1-0. So I won that match 1-0. Certainly upset my opponent. Some of the players watching, they assumed that, like, oh, I'm just sitting there thinking about siding, trying to drain the clock. And it's like, no, I was legitimately siding. The judges, however, knew that, right? They had my deck. It was then that the judges began to sweat just a little bit because they knew the menu would have to be closed at a certain point in time. But with only a few hours left during the day, they had to make sure that the tournament was not stalled. And after a quick little huddle to discuss their options, it was determined that Alan's deck still had a win condition, and the deck was actively playing to achieve that win condition, despite taking a long time. But he hadn't broken any policies, so his reign of terror on the tournament would continue. But no matter what happened, Alan knew that he had already accomplished his goal. Achieving what many would have thought to be impossible, topping a premier level event was such a toxic strategy. Now, this was a time before live stream feature matches were a thing, so the only coverage we received was that of a written blog on the official Yu-Gi-Oh website. Now, the only problem with this was the fact that they didn't want to feature you. No, I've specifically been told not to feature you. Konami wanted to bury this. I was really hoping that I could make it to top 2
they
or
would.
at least top 4, just because then they would be forced to feature my deck. So the only real-time updates about Alan's success were posted by people who were actually there at the tournament onto online forums. His top 32 opponent was none other than the Jeff Jones himself, one of the most accomplished players in the history
Nice,
of
the
entire
Exodia
game,
FTK
having won
guy.
and topped an endless number of premier events throughout his tenure. Jeff's expression would contort as Alan won the die roll, electing to go first in the single elimination round that would eventually crown the tournament champion. But luck would not be on Alan's side, for he would draw his hand and quickly fizzle into the combo, having missed multiple point tosses for Cup of Ace. Now, losing Game 1 this early with the deck was pretty much a death sentence, because even if you win Game 2, in Game 3 the Murmo player can set up a Booming Glacier to discard 2 cards from your hand, as well as a Abyss Giles that can negate cards like Royal Magical Library.
I wanna continue testing this area to its limits and see if I can keep making it crash.
I rolled a 10. I was pretty confident I was going to go first. It was really good. They rolled an 11, so I thought I was going to lose, but he fizzled on his turn 1, which is
That makes
pretty
things a lot
lucky for me, I
harder.
guess. Game 2, he played Darkful Dealings. I could discard an Abyss Gun and bring back the Spike in infantry to kill the library, but by the time I played Darkful Dealings, later in the game, it didn't matter. Game 3, I went first. My hand was pretty mediocre. My best play was to summon the Spike, insert the Abyss Lead, just part 3 monsters for Abyss Lead, and pop a random card from his hand, and then it just got me there, and it ended up being enough.
But as the 2 water strategies collided, eventually the smoke would clear, and Jeff Jones would declare victory over Alan and his Kishin strategy. The flames of the judges in the hall let out a huge sigh of relief, erupting into a cheer as Jeff Jones got up from the seat, having eliminated the toxic strategy that could have sabotaged their entire weekend. And the rest of the tournament would continue as normal, completely devoid of that possibility. But Alan would still leave the table with a smile on his face, knowing that he had achieved victory. His performance would trigger a chain reaction online, and by the end of the weekend, the community was filled with disgust, with complaints sprouting across online forums, pro players would even write guides on how to best defeat the strategy, shedding light on the against it, and the most impactful cards to negate. A portion of the community even started
Did I just hear Lionel? Oh my god.
deck, with Picomane King and Droll Lockbird some of the most popular choices. But while most hated the idea of such a strategy, others reveled in the chaos and even celebrated it as well. But of course, when any community is in this much of an uproar, by the following ban list, Evolution Mind August would become limited to 1 per deck, effectively bringing it in here in Kyoto. And although the deck we still make it just 1 copy of Mind August, by then the exponentially expanding power creep of the game, as well as the reduced consistency of the deck, meant that we were ever made here. Whether or not I ruined the event, at the end of the day, that is an opinion. And certainly, viewed as something
Yeah, sure. An opinion.
Like, this box of, like, what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is supposed to be. And if you were, like, outside of that box, you were sort of ruining it for everyone else. You're sort of drawing an arbitrary line in the sands. Like, okay, it's fair for, like, wind-ups to just Shockmaster you turn 1 and then OTK you on turn 2, but then it's not fair for me to just deck you out on turn 1. Like, why should a distinction be made there? But what happened to the man himself, Alan Pennington, you might ask? Well, after cementing an unforgettable legacy within the competitive history of Yu-Gi-Oh!, he would quit the game and switch to Magic the Gathering instead. He also started a
Nice.
rapid career, going through the room, buying all the binders. I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh! Baller, and I always fresh, never wear dirty. So I say GG. Yet still periodically coming back to the game and topping in premier events. But today he still dabbles in retro Yu-Gi-Oh! Formats, including Gold Control, where he has a YouTube channel, as well as another YouTube channel talking about his lifestyle in Asia.
This should save the game. Because I did kill a fucking guardian. I don't want this save to be corrupted. Not corrupted, but crashed. You're joking. The rain sucks. Alright, before I go to Farron, I'll take a nice, simple joyride and see if the game will crash. If it doesn't, that's great. I actually can't do that shrine right now, frustratingly enough. I mean, it seems good, enemies are randomly spawning, as they should be, and nothing's fucking dying. I don't know why Dark Army Resurrection is like this. One moment it's working, one minute it's not. Why are there so many bright-eyed crabs here? Nope. This part still crashes. Isn't there a way to make this stand alone? I hate this. Oh, I can play this with a controller, maybe. Well, two deaths. Kinda sucks. What's second wind anyway? Might not be so bad to play it, although I'd feel the need to just start a new game again. Right, two things to test: being able to get out of shrines, and seeing if auto placement is actually doing its thing properly. I believe Second Wind is essentially a fucking DLC type mod that adds all sorts of new side quests for you to try out. Right, I can't have the two together. I like how this is just official now in Tears of the Kingdom. And of course, it takes a fashion designer for you to be able to do it. Yeah, straight up just can't work. Unless I'm fine with my save file being soft locked inside a fucking shrine forever. Bruh, 33 souls? What the hell? What the hell? That's too much. It's literally just the exact same text as in the game already. I could try enabling panic moons again. See if that'll do anything. Damn, it auto-saved here. crashed even earlier. This isn't allowed anymore because Moon's banned. It was literally the only reason this deck was remotely playable. Because the Harpies could make Moon. It's a shitty ass 2-card combo, but I got ran over! Wow, Lion's false right now. It's Bloody Moon days that are especially bad, I'm pretty sure. Dude. How did I fucking play this game and beat it to completion?
Oh,
Unbelievable.
hey!
stop saving. Well, good enough. I have I'd like to turn auto save back off. It's almost out of battery. Fuel. I know this goes without saying, but Nintendo definitely took a lot of wrong lessons as much as they took a lot of right lessons from Breath of the Wild's success. Thing I want to talk about specifically is abuse, which seems to be the primary idea of Nintendo's idea for fun, especially for Zelda games with Echoes of Wisdom. So much of that game is abusable. Abuse abusable stuff is plentiful in Breath of the Wild, and they did mention that was something they thought was fun. But like a layer they're missing as to why abuse was so fun in this game was because this was a very hard game. Oh, why is that red white? The reason abuse was fun was because it was necessary for you to find out ways to abuse the things that were given to you in order to progress. Tears of the Kingdom is a significantly easier game, but was still just as rife with abuse. In fact, more so than the previous game, you might argue. Because of Ultra Hand. Dude, I miss being able to do this. Spamming jump. Get to where I wanna be. I forgot, the dragon shows up here. I don't need to go all the way to Pharaon. Dragon's right there. It's already way on. It's already on the way to the sky.
Wow! Sa! Wow!
Wait a minute, I'm pretty sure that's guaranteed. Did I forget to turn off... Did I forget to turn back on the random chests? My bad. 300 was still pretty good, but I would have preferred something more random. Could have been a potential piece of equipment, you know? Eightfold Longblade has a terrible charge attack. Not worth it. I'm getting rid of it.
5,500 damage. If we put Malice low enough, that could be good enough. Oh, and we decide not to bring back the Kiri from the Activate Serenir. Oh, we can tribute the Serenir for the Mitsurugi trap as well, if we want to. But for now, we're gonna go Serenir banish Mercurier, which is gonna give us a cert. And there is no Maxi this time around. We get Blazing Cartesia, which we can special summon because Albaz is in grave. But first, bring back Belgium. And let me quickly double check. Did we hit the branded lost? No, we can still place it. Okay. Belgion is going to place presumably branded lost. There it is. And we're going to follow it up with branded. Busy is thinking about it. It's possible we do have a Dominus Impulse, but it almost feels like, you know, Dominus Impulse, really strong card against Branded, really strong card against Mitsurugi as well. But if the opponent is playing both together, there's almost too many things you have to impulse here. And now that the impulse is out of the way, we're going to use Great Purification, bring back Aramasa, tribute the Lubellion, and then Aramasa is going to search Habakiri. Unless there's a Bestial. There is a Magnamoot, and again, the second time we've opened Magnamoot, and this theory is really strong here. That is going to hurt. And it resolves, vanishing the Aramasa.
Hey!
Is your
And Magnamoot
donkey okay?
Alright. And we continue. Or did this stop our playlist?
Oh!
What's your all-time favorite summoning mechanic? There's a couple ones that I really like. I do really like ritual summoning, but I also really like the and synchros.
Oh.
Yeah. Those three, in no particular order, I think.
Oh! Ah!
Alright, we did have rapid opening, and that gave us the branded fusion via Aluber, and it's resolving. And I think this is I don't really see a way out here for Dizzy unless we drew in the Biru, but even if we drew in the Biru, it's looking rough. We did not have Ash Blossom on top of all that. And sometimes, you know, sometimes Malice just doesn't find the starter. Granted, we did have to Ash the Allure of Darkness and then just hope they didn't have a way to play. But it looks like things are working out here for Abo. And he might just be a few steps away from going into the top 16 already. Lubellion off of Albion. This card branded in high spirits. Gonna be a Mirror Jade. And I count 8,000 damage on the board after the Mirror Jade banishes the Magnamoot. We are in battle phase already, so no more Nibiru, no more March here. And it looks like Abo swift 2-0 over Malice, going second both games. You know, in game 2, didn't really have a board that he needed to beat, but game 1 beat a very impressive board, very hard, both times through Impulse and Magnamoot, and moves on to the top 16. Absolute cinema. Okay, well done. Well done. All right, let's find a different table to watch. We got RGB Shiba versus Hans Nötig. Don't know what the score is here. I'm just going to reset it to 0-0, but I'm not sure what the score is between those two. Alright, we see Iba going first here with a Fiendsmith Engraver. Grabbing Fiendsmith track and resolving that one as well. So that's going to be the Fabled Lurry hitting the graveyard. Maxi check. Maxi is there. Uh-oh. We have an answer. We do have the Ash Blossom. Okay, minigame 1. You guys may continue. Alright, Requiem resolves, giving us Lacrima. And there's Sequence. Alright, we are just moments away from finding out what exactly they're trying to do with the Fiendsmith. Refusing away the actual Fiendsmith or the Lacrima. We do have 2 copies of it though, because we sent one for Lacrima. So, gonna not go for a rank 6 just yet. We are making Nightmare Phoenix. It seems like it is a Fiendsmith Orcus, if I had to guess. So we're gonna follow that up by making Nightmare Mermaid. Okay. And we're discarding Orcus Crescendo. Oh, that's scary. If the worst card in their hand is Orcus Crescendo, that is something to worry about, I think. We're sending another the Golem. Okay, we have Millennium cards as well to start comboing. So it seems like it is essentially Orcus, but we're just bringing a bunch of extra engines just to get to multiple bodies on the board so we can make the Nightmares, which makes sense. Alright, Yirsu sends World Wand. World Wand banishes itself to revive a banished Orcus Nightmare. And we make the Yirsu on top of that Galatea. Galatea matching. Oh, nice. Okay, we can add the Crescendo tag with the Link 4. I see the vision. Okay. We attempt Arbor. We're making the Link 4. And that is going to be able to add back any Orcus card. So we put back Crescendo. That's why it was okay to discard it earlier. And that's our board. Okay. We have Enmil Girsu, 2 sets, and Battle setup. Okay. Allure of Darkness on the other side, revealing another Malice strategy. We go ahead and bring back White Rabbit. White Rabbit gets hit with Crescendo, which is going to negate and banish it. And because it's already returned, we can't bring it back again. We normal summon another White Rabbit. And make Link to Revo, indicating we probably have Wizard for backup, and it is Wizard and Baldric. Baldric is particularly annoying here, I feel like, because we're gonna force that thing Girsu away. But we still have to play through this enemy, our monster. We're stealing the White Rabbit, but we have the field spell as well, the one of, and that's gonna hurt. Flash Mage. What is that last set card? Do we know it? I don't think we do. Because Malazan? Oh yeah, it was a very crazy hand, wasn't it? It was Allure, Banish White Rabbit, and another Malice Normal Summon, Wizard adding Mister, and a Bestial, and the Mutant. That was a pretty good hand. At the same time, I can't help but feel like we probably could have interrupted this in a more meaningful way. Like, trying to prevent them to get monster by taking the White Rabbit. But what I'm thinking of right now is like, isn't it also really good to let them make a link 3 and then take it. Because that way, take a lot of resources away, right? Oh, it was a cross-out designator. Okay. We have a lot of monsters on this Orcus board, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to survive this turn, because there's also a 0 attack Galatea Eye just chilling there, which seems like a prime attack target. If we had Crossout, why did we Ash Maxi? That's a fair question. I guess maybe it's because you cannot Ash a Nibiru or something like that, or Dominus Impulse, right? Maybe they were like holding the Crossout for those cards. But didn't work out for them here. And Malice, with a very good hand for going second, overruns the Orcus field here and takes the win here. I gotta quickly check if that was the second game or the third game or whatever. It was... It may have actually been game 1. It may have been just game 1. I don't see another game with games. Unless it's already on the other... Like we might get another game with... Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because the in-room replays page doesn't show you all the games. It's capped at like 20 Maybe the other games just ended way earlier because they're not going back to the table. And also there's only 11 minutes left in the round, so I would be shocked if they only played one game so far. Okay, yeah, let's jump into this one. What is the best deck after the list? That's a tough question, because the list isn't even in effect yet. I would guess that anything Mitsurugi related is going to be pretty strong. Mitsurugi, like either Lemur or Mitsurugi Orcus or Mitsurugi Lysiel, I think those are going to be pretty good. For me personally, I'm really looking forward to playing Sky Striker in a format with less Malice, because that was a really hard matchup for Sky Striker. But I still don't know if it's going to be like the best deck right now. Alright, and we see a Ghost Spell actually, which is a pretty good card against Malice, hitting the field spell. And there is the Red Ransom again. I heard Ryziel Automat is still a hard matchup for Sky Striker. If you make them start, yes. For sure, yeah. Oh, okay. Infinite Impermanence stopping the SP Little Knight here from banishing their own Red Ransom, which could be crucial, and it is crucial. They have to go to the end phase. Bell and Infern is enough to stop their turn here, and it's Little Knight pass. And we have Ariana, the Labyrinth Servant, in Labyrinth, wing second. Okay. Ariana is going to resolve. We're going to get a Furniture here, Labyrinth General here, and we're going to activate it. Discarding an Ash Blossom. Okay, that's bold. And set one pass. Alright. Malice gets another turn here, and Labyrinth only has 2 face downs. We're going to make a, what is this? Haggard Lizardos? No. Transcoat Talker with SP and Moltrami Pualos. Big welcome, Labyrinth, but I think they threw that explosive for turn, probably. Perfect answer for Big Welcome, Labyrinth. And now, is the last card that we have set an answer to this transcode talker? Because if it's not, next up is probably access code. We need something here. If this access code is not answered, oh, we have the Karma Cannon. Okay, we have an answer for it. Oh, but the March here. Uh-oh. That's not good. Yeah. Yeah, the writing's on the wall here. Daruma Karmic Cannon. I mean, they have to use it. They have no choice there. And I think very crucial Ash Blossom there. Most likely up for Malice, because I think if they had it earlier, they may have ashed the Ariana. I'm not. Maybe they just knew they could ash whatever it grabbed, but yeah. And we have Malice victorious this time around. You know, they lost to Avo earlier, but this one they were able to win against Labyrinth, even though Labyrinth was able to stop their first turn. Alright, do we have any other matches that are still going on? Or any gamers that are still waiting for an opponent here? Is Red Ransom enough? Fine enough is, I guess, what I would say to that. Like, I think hitting Red Ransom is going to hurt Malice a lot. I guess it depends.
This bastard's gonna kill me.
If you want the deck to still be decent, or if you just want the deck to be hit as hard as possible, I guess. Because I think it's still going to be reasonably strong, I guess. Or maybe playable, I don't know. I guess it depends. I do think the deck is still good enough to see something. Because if that's your question, I think it better than that. I think if that's your question, then I think Malice is better. After Red Ransom is gone, I think Malice is still better than Tear Limit currently is. I'm pretty sure. Like, basically, it's still going to be a deck that, if you don't stop it, it's going to set up a board that's really, really powerful. It is still going to do that with 1 or 2 cards, and it is still going to draw multiple cards within that pump. Like, Red Ransom being gone doesn't change any of that, but of course, Red Ransom was basically part of every single Malice combo for good reason, right? Like, one thing that I could imagine is that, the Beaver is going to be quite a lot stronger against Malice now, which is, it's already, like, supposed to be a decent card against the deck, but because Red Ransom gives you the field spell so early, it's basically always like, well, if I Nibiru them now, then they have the field spell to just keep playing, and I think that not being available anymore is pretty good. Right now. Okay, seems like Top 32 was indeed finished, and we don't even have to go on a break because Top 16 has just started. And let's go ahead and jump into... me pick a match of two people that we haven't seen yet today. Let's go Dennis versus Teramiare. Abo, please. We just did Abo in top 32. Come on, let's do some other embarrassing stuff. Dennis going first. With a Tenny Spirit Adhara. What does this mean? Sword Soul? Sword Soul! In top 16? Alright, we make the new Tenny Synchro, Tenny Spirit Adhara. If this card is Synchro Summoned, you can add a field spell from your deck to... Oh no, what are you adding? What are you adding? What is this adding? Oh, the okay. I was ready for some crazy stuff, but they're just adding the in-archetype field spell. Okay, nice. I'm pleasantly surprised. I was expecting anything from Secret Village of the Spellcasters or Necro Valley or whatever, but it is just Penny Infinity. And we add Vessel of the Dragon Cycle. Oh, Mr. Captain Village. Okay, nice. I forgot about that.
Blue Hinox is gonna be harder, but
would have been crazy, yeah.
still gonna be doable.
Vessel is going to send Moyi and search Saruya. We're gonna use Ashina. Summon Shana. Activate Saruya. Special it from the hand. Tuner. There is a Nibiru. Seems pretty good here. We are locked into worms. Oh no, set one pass. Ooh, we do play Flawless Perfection of the Tenny, that's nice. So Flawless Perfection of the Tenny is a card that I've messed around with in Paleo actually, because if your opponent special summons an effect monster while you control a face-down monster or non-effect monster, you can draw 2 cards. This does count for Paleos, it counts for, but it also counts for the token here. So if we special summon while the token is here, we draw 2 cards. Allure of Darkness. Is it another Malice Gamer? It is another Malice Gamer. Malice March here. Pay 300. And it's already looking quite grim for our Sword Soul Duelist. But, that's very funny. We do go into the battle phase to clear the token because we don't want the opponent to draw 2 cards. So at least, you know, the Tenny Field spell has kind of bought us another turn. Kind of. Another Allure, though. They're just printing card advantage. Oh, but they do just banish March here again. They don't have another Malice name. Okay. Well, hey, top 16 with Sword Soul, mad props to Dennis. Okay, I know you mean well, but the match has just started. This is game 1 of top 16. Calm down, they haven't lost yet. They got in the beat once in the first game. Come on. Not over yet. I mean, yeah, it's not looking great in this game, but even if they lose this game, there's more games after. by the grave onto that dormouse, but they have another March here in hand. That is very good here. That was almost a really, really clutch call by the grave. Yeah, okay. Alright, game 1 goes to Malice, but it was an honorable attempt. Unfortunately, they didn't use it. Okay, 1-0 for Terramiare. Malice defeats Sword Soul, but I'm curious to see more of that Sword Soul deck, because, I mean, there's gotta be a reason they're in top 16. I mean, this tournament started with 128 players. So, yeah, let me see some of that. That was the Tenny field spell. Yes, they played Tenny Sword Soul with the new Tenny support. Maybe the reason is Protoss. I mean, Protoss is probably in this deck, yes. It's probably in this deck. I'll give you that. Do you think Nib is a fair card? Yes. I
Yes.
think it's a fair card.
Why would it not be?
Alright, we have another chance to go first. Is it Sword Soul again? Oh, great. Bogey! Bogey effect, reveal. Did not get Maxine, is the good news. And we're making Shizhao. Okay. Now, Shizhao Chainlink 1, Moyi Chainlink 2, Raw 1, and then we could search the Sword Soul Emergence, which can search Protoss. But we go for a Long Yan instead. And this is where I guess we could get Nibiru again if they play it, or if they have it again. Because this is where you would normally expect a Meritor. But it seems like no Nibiru this time around. We activate Tenny Infinity again. How can I get into these duels? These are Challenger Cup tournaments, which are free to enter, and all you have to do is join the Discord server and then sign up for the tournaments. Exclamation mark Challenger Cup. For the Discord link. Should have a command for it, I'm pretty sure we still have it. Damage with the Long Yan. And we just happen to have 3 attributes in the graveyard. Oh, we tribute the Shishao for Heavenly Dragon Circle, which adds any worm monster from the deck to my hand, and Protoss is a worm monster! Okay, I think that's how we beat Malice. Yep, I see it. I see it. Yep. Right, okay, so Protoss here, we call Dark. And now, we cannot summon Dark monsters, so I guess here's to hoping for Terramiare that we don't play Malice again, because if it is Malice again, then we have a problem. Maybe we switched to Atlantean Mermail or something. it's one. Oh, it's one deck in this one. Okay. Right, my bad. Okay, well, I guess it is Malice again. If it's just one deck, then that means they win. Then they always play Sword Soul, which is also impressive. Is a pretty good card against Malice. And it means we go to a game 3. We'll toss his base when it's done. You have a point. You have a point. But now, Sword Soul will have to go second against Malice, which is...
Right, that's the first death I feel was genuinely bullshit. Fuck, man, I lost a lot of money there.
Alright, Malice going first here. Activate Field Spell.
I was gonna use that so I could get the Master Sword a little easier.
Is there a prize pool for this tournament, or is it just for fun? Challenger Cups have prizes, yes. There's some pretty cool stuff on the line. You have Maxi, but there's a cross out. Okay. We're gonna stop that Maxi, and it seems like that's gonna work out for them. So Maxi negated, Dormouse resolves. And the Sword Soul fans are in shambles right now.
Fuck you.
Followed up by a normal summon. Back up better. There's more though. Now it's just Ash Blossom. It's just Ash Blossom, which might sound like Ash Blossom is a bad card. It's not, but it's not great against Malice, and specifically in this spot, when the opponent already has the material for a Link 3, with Link Decoder included, it's like, eh. There's Red Ransom. The only good news about this is that the field spell has already been used, so it can only add Malice in the mirror. But this is still looking very, very good for Malice here, and Sword Soul is not known to be the best deck at breaking boards going second, especially not with 3 cards in hand. There was some. Ooh, I saw a little response window there. We have a Nibiru as well. Maybe. Maybe. There is something going on there. Gonna manage the march here. So how good would Nibiru be here if we did it on res here? They can still make Link Spider, they have March here in hand, but then Splash Mage, they still get the White Spider, it's not that great. But if it was a Nibiru, or if it is a Nibiru, they decided not to use it. What else could it be? I mean, maybe it's something irrelevant and they're just trying to spook the opponent into making a worse field. Does any of the mini cards, any of the new tiny cards have like an effect to special summon itself even on the opponent's turn? Like anything that
How's the blue Hinox easier than the red Hinox I fought previously? Alright, 4 Hinox toenails. That is enough.
maybe now Nibiru is good because how do they get to 3 bodies again? Still no Nibiru, okay. This makes me think it's just gotta be something else, something weird. I don't know what it would be, but I feel like this was a good Nibiru spot, wasn't it? Is this a different tournament from yesterday? Yes, this is a completely tournament. Francisco Talker as well. Okay, we're going through a lot of extra deck options here. Splash Mage. It was the Nibiru all this time. Why didn't we make a White Finder? Okay, I guess there we go. Splash Mage and Transcode Talker have been used. So now we don't have those options available anymore. We have March. So we know there's a March here, and we know there's a Malice in the Mirror. So we're banished for the March here. But the thing is now, it still gets 3 bodies, right? Because Malice in the Mirror banishes Dormouse, and I just now realized we haven't normal summoned yet, which is it always it's always crazy if this happens, where Malice just hasn't normal summoned. He can still normal summon this Jessie Cat. And
Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to.
wait. Didn't they add with Ransom like way earlier?
Fuck, I'm missing Lizalfo's horns.
Okay. That was a weird Roland Lockbird. But I mean, we did kind of open Maxi Ash Roll Nibiru. I mean, yeah, at least it stopped the Jessie Cat from drawing, and it's also going to stop the Whitebinder from drawing, and it's also going to... here's the thing, right? Like, they already used the GWC this turn, and if they don't play the TB11, they cannot go for the 07. Because it's... they're under roll. But honestly, I still think this is very hard for Sword Soul to beat with cards in hand. Yeah, you need Ghost Bell, is what you need. Ghost Bell for the GWC. And then, I don't know what else. Ghost Bell! Ghost Bell! Ghost Bell! Nope. That's a lot of card advantage. It's such a simplified game state, and all of a sudden there is 5 cards off of a white
It's
binder.
so much better.
They have over 20 minutes left. Alright, then the Biru crashes into the white binder because its attack is swap. 2. We could have stopped attacking, but I guess we want an open board for the tennies here. There is the 07 to search and banish the Anhara, and now I think it's... Quite frankly, I don't know. You can only 1 card in Sword Soul. Is if any of the new Tenny cards maybe a 1-card combo without anything else? I'm not sure. But even then, me and the white binder draw, we still have the Firewall Dragon to bounce a card. I do not see it. It's Saruya, that is the new Tenny, but that does not seem to be enough. And Malice takes down Sword Soul. It was cool to see Sword Soul make it all the way to top 16. It was cool. Alright, let's check in. It seems to be one of the few matches still running. Let's check it with Avo against Astro. Now I don't know what the score here is. Well, let's just see what's going on there. Responds to Brandon opening, and it's cards. Not likely to draw an answer to that one, so we do not. We do search Aliber instead of special summoning it. And then we roll it instead. We don't give a draw. Avo hits on Brandon Mitsuru. Activate Brandon Fury, but we also have Ash Blossom. Uh-oh.
It would have been a great opportunity to use those rupees to buy some Lionel gear, but alas, we can't have nice things.
And they have gold sarcophagus. Draco Tail, Yummy, or Canine, what do you predict next? I don't know, but I really hope it's Draco Tail or Yummy. Preferably Draco Tail. Preferably Draco Tail. I think Draco Tail releasing would make the upcoming Duelist Cup very nice. Would it be the best deck for the Duelist Cup? I think that's questionable. I think it wouldn't be. It's definitely not the deck with the highest ceiling in the game right now. There's definitely decks. Even after the ransom ban, I think Malice makes a stronger board, Mitsurugi makes stronger boards, all the Ryzeal stuff, Onomat, they make stronger boards. But I think Draco Tail would probably offer you an option for the Duelist Cup if you want to play a deck that like doesn't care much about stuff like Maxi or Fuwalos and Droll and Lockbird. So if like everyone is playing those cards to deal with Onomat and Mitsurugi and Ryzeal and Malice and stuff like that, then I think it's a really nice option. Right? I think that'd be really cool. still making people play Retaliating Sea will be funny for maxi searches? It would be, yeah, if people actually do it. Back into the game here, we see the but there's a Dominus Impulse as well here. We just cannot catch a break. Malice opening Maxi, Ash Blossom, and Dominus Impulse, as well as the full Malice combo. Not looking great here for Abo in this one. I'm not sure if this is game 2 or 3. For Abo's sake, I'm hoping this is game 2. I'm hoping there's another game after this one. Source Soul player here, I had an insane game in round 2 against Malice, going second, but you weren't streaming, Sally. Yeah, for this one, they told me to just start streaming from the top 32 onwards, but I can believe it. I'm happy to see you made it into the top 16. It was pretty nice to see some Sword Soul. It is game 3. Uh-oh. Ah! And it looks like if this was really game 3, another Oak deck has fallen to
What
Malice.
the actual fuck?
If we can quickly confirm, yup, that indeed was 2 wins for Astral over Abo.
I guess we are at that level now.
Alright, someone asked for Bronas earlier, but I don't see Bronas right now. Maybe he's already finished? One here. Yeah, Bronas already won. Bronas already won and is in top 8. We can spectate Bronas in top 8 though. For now, let's see what we've got going on between Kat and Kagi Kane. Alright. Another 60 card deck over there versus Pizza Ruby. Okay, draw bait, fragrance, add Hamakiri, review, activate Hamakiri, resolve, Mitsaji, Stagi effect, search for the ritual spell. Okay. Activate ritual spell to summon from hand, repeating Aramasa and Kusanagi, and activate both of their effects. Adding back prayers, okay, indicating the second copy of the ritual spell, I think. Gonna add 2 and add back prayers. And indeed, we do have another copy of the ritual spell. Here comes Murakumo. And I guess we don't know yet if it's pure Mitsurugi or any sort of hybrid version. Abakiri comes back from the graveyard. We activate Mirror, tributing the Murakumo, summoning Futsu. Murakumo adds the Trap card. Normal summon Night Sword Serpent, make IP Masquerena, looks like it is pure Mitsurugi. Set 3 and pass. Okay, pretty good end board for pure Mitsu, but not unbeatable for a 60 card engine deck. We go for Intimate Track, searching Santa Claus, and discarding Orcust Harp Horror. Get hit with a Troll and Lockbird here. I'm not gonna lie to you, that Troll and Lockbird is not even that good here, because we're gonna stop a lot of our own effects. So, we give them Santa Claus, but that triggers Futsu to add back, to bring back Kusanagi. Almost summon Lacrima, force him to discard for the effect. Discarding Kusanagi is a Fiendsmith. It's a Ruby Orchist. Here. Triggering the Futsu again. Engraver effect, shuffle back Lacrima. Requiem effect, engage that with purification. And now because Troll is active, we cannot activate Rakumu in the graveyard. Requiem equips to Engraver. Engraver effect, we're gonna try to set the Futsu successfully. Activate Heartworm, brings out the Nearsu. takes Sting here, so it's the prayers that's leaving. Galatea comes back. We drew Babel.
Oh yeah, I need you guys.
Outmaneuver. Honestly, I'll tell you one thing right now. If they didn't droll, that setup was so much harder to break. If all of their Mitsurugis trigger when they get tribute and all that stuff, like it was so much harder to break this board if they didn't self-roll.
Fuck me. How much progress did I lose?
Okay, well, Orcus wasn't able to set up that much though, so maybe there's a chance here. Domo Summon Saji is going to give us a Mitsurugi Ritual. Go for Tornado Dragon. That, okay. Nightmare Phoenix. Discard Ritual. Destroy Babel, we just protected. Activate Great Purification to try and bring this back. This is not going to work out the way you think it is because it can still bring back with the thing even if the monster is gone. Prayers, take 800, revive Habakiri. This is massive. Trap brings back Murakumo, tributes the Habakiri. And now the Habakiri activates. To destroy the Dingirsu with the Murakumo, and we get to search Aramasa. Okay. Activate Crescendo in the graveyard to get your search. Get Armor. Why did we search Aramasa? We only played 2 rituals. Oh no, 3 ritual spells are gone. Okay, fair enough. Big Dynamondo. Dynamondo effect. Get rid of Babel. We chain Droplet with the Harper. Nice. Even though it was probably worth considering holding that Droplet. But we can still go Symbol Skeleton in the end phase. And just deal with the Dynamondo here. Nice call. And it looks like Orcus is winning this through the full Pure Mitsu board. Droll and Lockbird on top, which, to be fair, that kind of made it easier. But also, completely uninterrupted. You know, they didn't have a single interruption, and they won. Just further, you know, I guess proving my point that the pure Mitsurugi deck can be fun to play against. It's a pretty fair deck. If it's the pure Mitsu deck, it's quite enjoyable to watch as well. Like I think this is a good duel to go back to and rewatch and try and see how it would have gone if we just didn't use the Droll and Lockbird as soon as we realized it was a Mitsurugi deck, a Orcus deck, which Droll doesn't really hurt that much. But yeah. And Fiendsmith Orcus takes down Mitsurugi here, going second. And I probably... I mean, this could have been game 3, but also could have been game 2. I'm not sure. Let's see. It was Cat and Kagitana. Cat has won 2 games. Okay. I don't know if it was a 2-0 or a 2-1. It was a 2-1. Okay, it was game 3. It seems like all matches are finished except for one, so let's jump into this one. Jump in from now. Let's see what it's like. There's not that much time left, about 8 minutes. Have we seen any Lunalight? Have not seen Lunalight, no. Ooh, we see Orcust again here. Orcust Fiendsmith? Orcust Fiendsmith on the side of Anestus here, going up against what looks like your Mitsurugi. And we are in the middle of a heated duel. Alright, it is turn 3, main phase 1 for Anestus. we are going for some workist plays, and it seems like not many disruptions left on the side of Mitsurugi here. Actually, nothing on the board that is a disruption at the moment. I would assume this is game 3. If there's 8 minutes left, I would assume it's game 3. But I don't know for sure. Ooh, a Boral Sword Dragon. Was that a timeout? No. Surrender. Why did we surrender? It was the second win here for Lingo. Maybe it just wasn't enough and they knew the follow-up would end the game.
Today, Nintendo randomly dropped a huge update for Mario Kart World version 1.4.0. As always, it's Nintendo. I was a little bit worried they were going to mess something up, but no, this update was actually really good. This update includes new features, including small ones, but also a new way to play with custom items. But something I never expected is we also have brand new sections for
Cool,
some of
about
the
time.
tracks, and a new way that you can play online. So we'll be looking at the patch notes and going through these points one by one. They added custom items to the item rules, which this is something we've kind of always wanted, especially since Mario Kart 8 Deluxe already had it, and now Mario Kart World has it too. So when you set the rules for a race, which is in versus mode or battle mode, and this also applies for online or offline, you can then set the items to custom. Once you set the rules, this brings you to the next page where you can toggle items on and off. So you can actually turn the items off, you can only have certain items on, or items off, and you can just mix and match to play however you'd like to play. With
My
Mario
guy
Kart 8
didn't
Deluxe
know how
having
to
this for a
drift
few
in
years now, I'm
Mario Kart.
surprised this wasn't
What?
here earlier. But for the game being new, I guess that kind of makes sense. So, of course, the first thing we're all going to do is just turn off the boomerang. What an obnoxious item. I don't want to have it, I don't want to be near it, and no blooper either, please. Now, this update is actually a lot more important than just being able to play however you like, because this has a lot of other implications too. For example, if you set the items to hammock only, we're not going to have fun. But you can unlock characters really easily. For example, if you have trouble unlocking fish mode, what you had to do before was go into 2-player and go from Drybones Burnout to Toad's Factory, go to a specific spot, and keep rolling for Kamek and going out of bounds. It's just a horrible thing. It took me 2 hours to unlock Fishbone. Then they introduced the UFO method, which is not that convenient either. But now, just play a race. In the first 1 minute of this race, I got turned into Fishbone twice. So if you know which track to get a certain character on, you can just go with Kamek only and hard CPUs, and you will just unlock it instantly. The enemy characters are so easy to unlock now, and this is something we've always wanted because the original system was so bad. But that's not all. Let's talk about coins only. If you set the coin block and coin shell or any combination of those two items on only, you can very, very quickly collect coins, which helps you to unlock vehicles. I get why this stuff wasn't here at the beginning of the game to make unlocking more organic, but now if you just want to get the stuff because you just want to play the game, it's not instant, but it's way easier now. And let's talk about feather only. This is amazing. Before, if you wanted to practice feather shortcuts, you would have to go into free roam, and then you'd have to keep rolling items till you got a feather, and then when you use the feather, you could rewind to get it back, which seems fine. This seems like a fine way to practice feather shortcuts. However, free roam is a little bit different from regular races, and so you may not know where the out of bounds is, and you can't try the shortcut with 20 coins because free roam is always 0 coins. But now, because feather only is added, you can now just easily grab 2 feathers and then just practice these feather shortcuts over and over and over with any coin count with real out of bounds zones. And this is amazing because some feather shortcuts actually can only be done in versus mode because it's just so different. And you could practice feather shortcuts before, but this new quality of life change is really going to accelerate the pace at which people learn these feather shortcuts and get good at them. Then there's also bullet bill only. Let me tell you, in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, after this mode got introduced, we found so many more bullet extension zones. And it's not common knowledge a lot of the bullet extensions that you can do in Mario Kart World because it's so hard to repeatedly get a bullet bill so you can test it. But now you can just play bullet bills only, and you can do a lot of testing. We're going to discover a lot more bullet extension zones. Of course, there is blue shell only, which is the stupidest game mode of all time. And this is back if you want to torture yourself. Actually, no, the stupidest game mode is shock only. I think this one actually takes longer to finish a race because everyone is getting hit at once. But it's there if you want to play it. Thanks Nintendo for finally giving us some more options of how to play this game in a different way if we want to. Mega Mushroom only. This is pretty cool as well. There are not that many shortcuts that you need a Mega Mushroom for, but the Mega Mushroom does change things, and just being able to practice with the Mega Mushroom is amazing. For example, for the past 6 months, I didn't bother to figure out how to do this part of Bowser's Castle with a Mega Mushroom, because I just thought it was too hard to practice and learn it. But after about 1 minute after this update, I figured it out, and I know what to do with this now. Then, of course, there is red shells only if you're feeling a little nostalgic for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, because this feels just like how that game felt being in the place. I mean, it's literally the same. You can't tell me this is any different. The only difference is blue shells are turned off now. Now, before you say Mario Kart World is saved because you can turn off the boomerang item, keep in mind this doesn't apply to online worldwides, obviously. But also, this is something I was worried about as soon as the custom items showed up as an option. That when you make custom item rules, you're actually going to completely change the item distribution. What do I mean by this? Well, take a look at this. You could actually just get horrible items at the start of the race by stopping at the start. And maybe you don't stop at the start, but this is just one example that I found in a couple of minutes. Just to give an example, in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as soon as you turn custom items on, the 30-second timer for Blue Shell and Shock just turn off. And these items become way more chaotic because they can show up in pairs, or they can show up several times a race, and that can really ruin the races sometimes. So just keep that in mind if you play custom items. If all you're going to do is turn off the boomerang, you probably want to play with regular items instead. And also with Mega Mushroom only, you can do this online in a friend room! Yeah, so I was streaming when the update dropped, so we just ended up doing a whole bunch of sleep. We also played Boomerang only. Because if you're gonna remove the boomerang sometimes, you might as well play with only the boomerang sometimes. Alright, I know I had a lot to say for custom items, but this is just such a huge addition. Not only because it gives us another option, but because of the way it's going to advance the meta of Mario Kart World. Like, players are going to get better faster. Including you! If you want to get better faster, you can now do it too. Alright, next up, made it so that the music track name and source title of the track that is playing played on the pause menu. So yeah, pretty much anywhere you are where it's playing a song all the time, pause and it's playing. And this is especially good in free roam. You know what's playing and you want to be able to. And hey, if you're like me and you like trying to guess the song from the melody, just don't pause the game and you won't see the title. Added music volume to settings in your controller. So when you pause the game and press X for settings in the controller and go to the bottom, there's music volume. And honestly, I was hoping that besides normal and loud, there would also be silent, so I could listen to other music while I play Mario Kart. Like, I thought that's what the point of this was gonna be. Have sound effects, don't have music, so I can time trial while listening to other music. But I guess that's just not gonna happen. Thanks, Nintendo! Made it so players who gathered in a room of online play can participate in race, knockout tour, and battle. Up to 4 players can participate in these. So this, what does this even mean? Well, as it turns out, when you are setting the rules in an online room, it says, right, so these are the normal settings. You're going to play races in this room. But if you head over to the right, then this has the option Everyone. What this does is it puts you in online worldwide for race, knockout, or battle. So you can just join up with a friend and then head over to worldwide or knockout tour for battle together. And you can do this with up to 4 people at once, so this guarantees you all end up in the same room. So yeah, just an easier way to play a ranked mode now. It is so you can join in with friends who are playing knockout with friends in 2-player online as well. That's awesome. I didn't actually know that this wasn't here before. Added restart and next race in the pause menu for versus race in single player. You have no clue. Like, unless you ride this game every day, you have no clue how impactful this is. My favorite change. It's my second favorite change after custom items. So first, let me tell you what this does. Basically, when you're playing in versus mode in single player, in the past, when you hit pause, there would only be you and quit. So if you didn't want to play this race anymore, you'd have to quit out and then come back all the way into the menu and set the rules. But now there's next race and restarts. So if you hit next race, it just ends the race and you go back to the track selection. If you hit restart, it just restarts like it's time trials. And this is amazing because you may not have known if you don't practice this game too much, but versus mode is really the best way to get better at Mario Kart. When you're practicing shortcuts in time trials, you'll get mushrooms. But in versus mode, you can just keep wanting to go through more item boxes to get more mushrooms. You don't have to keep starting the race if you want to practice a mushroom shortcut again. And then also, some coins on the track are important to be able to take the shortcut. You can get each coin once in time trials, whereas in versus mode, you can wanting. So versus mode was better to practice these shortcuts. Obviously, if you want to beat your fastest time trial record, which involves racing against ghosts, to optimize your runs, yeah, you have to play time trials. But if you're just learning the strategies and trying to make them so you want to get as many repetitions as possible, the mode was always the best. The problem is you could never hit the start on the run. You have to either finish the race or put out back to the main menu. But now start to just start right away, or next race to instantly move on to the next track you want to practice. But also, combine that with custom items, and now it's even easier to practice stuff like other shortcuts, or just get a star or a mega mushroom or whatever you want. This especially practice track shortcuts, but wait, there's more. Let me tell you about this one thing that I wanted to practice, but it's so annoying. If you're starting in first place on Salty Speedway, there's this pretty tough technique that you can start here, where you can get onto the second ledge without a charge jump, and it's so good for building up the start of the race, especially starting in first place. And I know this is very specific, but this is something I was genuinely wanting to practice, and unfortunately in time trials you start in the middle, just consider it enough that it's not perfect to practice, and you could go to versus mode to start in first place, but then you can't restart, so you have to play the whole track or quit out. And now you can restart. So I can actually practice this thing now. You see what I mean? Like, there's a lot of small quality of life improvements, especially when combined together. That just makes this patch a practice. And I think trying to that Mario Kart World right now is easier, better, faster than it's ever been. Next up, made it so you can select photo mode from the pause menu in Race Against Ghosts in time trials. That's interesting. I've never tried to take a photo in that mode, but now you can do that. Okay, this next one is kind of crazy. Change the course layout of below courses for versus race, racing, or in online play or wireless play. So, I guess this doesn't include Grand Prix, and probably doesn't include Knockout Tour, but they changed track layouts. Look, race ahead sort of
Whoa.
finished in space for it is just different now. Here's what the minimap of that track looked like before, and here's what it looks like now. That's crazy. They just changed the track. I mean, there were no time trials for this track, so I guess it's fine. And look, it's the race from Koopa Troopa Beach to Crown City. Koopa Troopa Beach, Koopa Troopa Beach, Koopa Troopa Beach. It's always this track. These are the intermission tracks that people dislike the most. And I'll tell you exactly why. It's because all of them just have this super long, straight section of water. And water is slow. Yes, you can trick on water, but it's still slow. And there's not much to do. You're not like drifting, you're not turning. Not to mention you can turn in water, but that's not that much to do. But now you can turn in the water if they added stuff. For example, from Whistle Stop Summit to Koopa Troopa Beach, they not only added some big turns, which I don't know, they're not that fun, but they also added boats. They're pretty far out of the way, especially the farthest one. You can now get in a boat, and yeah, there were intermission tracks that had boats before, but now there's more. And the worst intermission track in the game, in my opinion, Desert Hills to Koopa Beach, super duper long, takes forever to finish, it's almost all water straight line.
Huh, how am I able to carry 4?
Isn't that crazy? They added some stuff there too, don't get me wrong, it's not just a turn, but it's like, yeah, the track is so much better now, thanks Nintendo! This is now officially fun! If you can't tell, that's sarcastic, but there are some pretty decent ones. For example, Koopa Troopa Beach to Koopa Stadium. What? It was just straight lines before, but now there are vines, and like, it was the only intermission track with these vines, because this is something that you see in free roam for the missions, but I was always surprised it was never in
tracks, and now here it is. And there is actually other stuff. They just added a bunch of little random things to say, like, look, it's not boring anymore. They're good now. These tracks are good now. Look, you do a little bit of stuff on the straight line water. Oh, Nintendo, gamers are not trying to avoid